AgCenter, and I'm happy to be here with you to share information on agritourism today. I began as a young child in the agritourism operation. I grew up on a family farm, and that family farm had many visitors every summer, and I was the tour guide for the family. So this is a wonderful couple, and they have a pumpkin patch and a Christmas tree farm. They're located on I-20 near Monroe in a small town called Stark. And this is Mr. and Mrs. Curry. And they are very good examples of an agritourism operation. Well, let's begin with the definition. What is agritourism? The universal definition of agritourism is that it is a business venture on a working farm, ranch, or other agricultural enterprise that provides an experience for the visitors and also provides supplemental income for the owner. Now, Becky talked a great deal about that experience, and what we're learning is that people who are tourists today, whether they be wildlife tourists or farm tourists, they want to have an experience. They want to get involved in whatever they're touring. I like to break down agritourism in at least 3 categories. We look at the farm and ranch experience, and under that one you can imagine we're talking about that farm tour that's load up on the wagon and go see everything the farm has to offer. Farm stays are really popular right now. People would love to come stay on your farm, wake up when you wake up, and go out and do the chores with you, and to have that real life experience that people have seen in the movies, they've read about it in books. So farm stays, very popular now. Bed and breakfast. You can just offer people to lodge on your farm and not offer them the other things, but they can view those things and they can see those things as they sit on the porch. Wineries are pretty popular in Louisiana right now. They afford you the experience of going out and harvesting, and they also will take you through the processing of the wine. Photography. Last night I saw a clip from Texas about the bluebonnets. The season's short, but during that time a lot of photographers make a lot of money off the bluebonnet season because everybody wants their little girl sitting in the bluebonnet patch in her Easter outfit. Great photography, a good way to make money. Recently, one of my sheep friends shared an opportunity with me. She said for a certain price, she allowed school groups to rent her sheep. And at Christmas time, they rented the sheep, and their opportunity to make money came when they hired a photographer, and they had sessions, photo sessions, and people brought their children in, and they got to love on the sheep. And so the school made money, and she made money. So that was a very unique, different one I had not heard of before. Corn mazes, hay mazes, they're all out there, very popular in the fall. Crop tours. We're beginning to see people have an interest. In Louisiana, there's a stretch that you can drive through and you see a lot of crops. And you see signs that talk about what type of fertilizer, what type of insecticides that are being used, but you don't see a sign that says crops. So we're seeing a renewed interest in people really wanting to get into walking out in the fields with row crop production and seeing the harvest. Then we have pumpkin patches, very popular. The Currys mix their pumpkin patch with their Christmas tree farm, and that's been very good for them because they get people in for the pumpkins, they see they have Christmas trees, and it allows them to do a double sale. Horseback riding, very popular. Horseback riding in our forested lands is perfect. Then we move into the outdoor. A lot of this Becky has visited with us about, and I'm not going to repeat this, but we consider this agritourism because it is located on agricultural lands. And then we move over to the rural side of it, and here sometimes we have museums that have old farm implements in them. I love in South Louisiana we have a museum, and it shows all of the sugar processing from field to table. We have farmers markets, we have roadside stands, we have you-pick'ems, people adding value. This summer, great time to go out and harvest berries. This is a really unique opportunity. You really don't have to grow them, but if you have land and you're safe in the knowledge that no one has sprayed these berries with anything, then you can harvest those wild berries and take people into your kitchen and make jams and jellies, and that's quite the experience. We have fairs, we have festivals. Agriculture has always been at the heart of many festivals. And then don't forget family reunions. They're really using a lot of our farms now to host these family get-togethers on. Well, what are the 5 most popular activities that we have today in outdoor recreation? These stats were done in 1999, from 1999 to 2001, and then again from 2005 to 2009. And the most popular have been view wildflowers and trees. Now, if you're a forest landowner, this is great news for you. And view wildlife, and they're not talking about birds and fish in this one. They want to see the deer. They want to see, in some cases, we can find some beaver on our properties. They want to see the raccoons. They want to see anything that they can see. They just want to experience what comes through the woods. Am I going to see a fox? What is it? What's out there that I'm going to get to look at? But look at the other things. Visit a farm or an agricultural setting. Gather mushrooms and berries. As we all know, we have to know how to identify mushrooms. This is one I think you would probably find a difficult time getting some insurance for, because mushrooms, wild mushrooms, could kill you. So I don't know where that stat came from, but harvesting berries is a very popular enterprise. And again, so you see photography in there again. It's very popular for photographers to take people to the outside today. I know so many family farms that have beautiful old barns, not the metal barns, but the old beautiful wooden red barns, and they are great backdrops for wedding photos, so people really use those a lot. Well, 60% of nature-based tourism occurs in these forested areas. This is a beautiful stand of trees located at the Hill Farm Research Station in Homer, Louisiana, and I am by this tract all the time, and I could see horseback riding. If you owned this, if your stand looked like this, how great. These are really spaced far apart. Even if this is not the situation you have, if you've had log trucks in, they make some really nice roads that as a horseback rider, you can enjoy being on them. Orienteering, using a compass, and having fun in the woods. Maybe somebody takes you to a corner, sends you back another way, but you have to take the compass and you have to use your compass skills. And that is another way people are utilizing these farmlands. Geocaching. Anybody know what geocaching is? Very good. Okay, geocaching is the latest new thing that people are going anywhere. They're using geocaching. In fact, I belong to a group called the LSU Tourism Association, and we are hosting a workshop on geocaching to show people and communities how they can use this tool to move people around in their community. In agritourism, we use this tool to get you from one point to another on the farm so that you can maybe experience this beautiful stand of trees, and then maybe you go over and watch the cows graze. So many different ways to use geocaching, but it appeals to a wide range of ages. Hiking. People love to be outdoors. They want to see something pretty. They want to be a part of nature. So hiking, whether it's on your traditional farm or through the forest lands. Again, wildlife viewing. Just being out and hearing the sounds of nature is a lot of fun. Birding. In the part of Louisiana I live in, we really don't have any birds that people can get a badge for if you're a birder. However, we do have many beautiful birds, and we can hear them sing all the time. So in our fast-paced world, a lot of times we do not have time to listen for those birds, so that is an opportunity. You could even set up a bird blind in a forested area, and you could hide in that blind, and they don't focus on you in the forest, and so you get to see different aspects of the bird. Of course, hunting, Becky talked about that, and hunting is a major use for these forest lands, and as she said, it's another good way to get some income while your trees are growing. Camping, this is a pristine place. You could do primitive camping here. Nature walks, again, tied with that hunting. Wildflowers. Flowers are so popular among people. Native plants. We have a gentleman in Louisiana that has a B&B on his property, and as part of your overnight stay, he takes you on a native plant walk. And it's quite interesting because you say to yourself, I've seen those plants, they're blooming, but I haven't known what they are. So other ways that you can use your farm. Agritourism is really popular right now because people want that experience. People are tired of just going, sitting in the car and looking, getting out. Museums alone and by themselves aren't nearly as appealing as taking a walk or taking a hike, but in conjunction with this, wow, if you've been hiking all day, you're ready for the museum at the end of the day. But what we're seeing is that even with the price of gas, people are still wanting to do car travel. Some of Becky's statistics talk about how much touring we have just at home, near home. And we have a lot of that when we have car travel. Shorter trips near home, again, looking for the experience. They want a vacation that has some activity in it. They want vacation that has an educational value. I want to be able to come back for my vacation and tell my friends what I learned and share some new knowledge with them. And it's family time. These are great times when families bond. If you grew up on a farm, you get to show that you know a little bit of something about farming. And if you don't, then it's a first-time experience for both of you. Jane Eckhart is a Canadian agritourist, and Jane writes a lot about agritourism, does a lot of seminars, and Jane says that agritourism provides our guests with a touch of nostalgia, a pleasant reminiscence of a children's story, or a memory of a summer on the farm with Grandma. So agritourism, just being on that farm, it just evokes a lot of emotion within us. I, to this day, remember so many experiences I have with my cousins and their friends coming to visit our farm, and how many times I got to laugh because they didn't know things that I had grown up knowing. So this is part of what Jane is explaining, is that nostalgic revisit of the family farm. So why do it? Why do an agritourism operation? Well, again, it is another way to get some more money out of that land that's purposed maybe for forest land, but it can now be used for other things as well. Supplemental income. Farming equipment is very expensive, so if you did not need a tractor, you probably wouldn't have a tractor, but a tractor can be such an asset to any agritourism operation. There's just something about visiting a farm, you expect to see the tractor. It's like going to the firehouse. If the fire truck's not there, you're going to miss it. So a tractor's a big part of the experience. So again, it's supplemental income because you're using the assets you've got on the existing farm, and now you're just adding another dimension to it. It can provide steady employment. In Louisiana, we have a lot of farm workers we do not employ year-round. But if we have supplemental activities on that farm, like agritourism, then we may need that person to stay with us. And it is a great opportunity for the farmer to keep that person on the farm, because if they leave and find other employment, then he has to retrain the following year. So it saves him time and money to be able to retain his workers. It's an opportunity to share that agricultural experience. I know that was my dad's favorite thing. My dad educated people that came to our farm. They left with a lot of information, and people who are devout agriculture owners, they want to share that with you. It's an opportunity to sell what you have on the farm. A lot of times people tell me they don't come to the farmer's market because they sell everything. People knock on their door and say, I need some peas, I need some corn, and they can actually sell it on out of their field. And this is a picture at a farmer's market, and she had a very small farm, but as you can see, she displays it very beautifully, and it makes you want to buy it. Becky said that not everybody can do certain enterprises, and I agree with her. And when you get started in agritourism, there are some points that you need to consider. You need to assess your personality. You have to be a person who likes people. When people come on your farm, it's as though you went to a store, and if you're not friendly to people in a store, they will not buy from you. So if people come on the farm and you don't have a friendly face and a welcoming attitude, they're most likely not going to enjoy their experience and not come back again. So it's about personality. I always tell people, you know, somebody's got to have the personality. Somebody also has to be able to plant the crops and raise the animals. So maybe there's the personality person that's the front of the organization, and there's the person that makes the organization run in the background. So there is a possibility with a partner, if you're not really into people, that there's a place for you in agritourism. You have to determine your goals. I work with people who want to start operations. Some people tell me up front, I need some more income. These trees are growing, but I want to get something out of this land while they grow. So I need some more income. That could be a goal. Another goal could simply be that I love agriculture and I want to share it. I'm retired, I'm not doing anything else. You know, I want to provide this experience to people. This is a unique group of people. I've worked with at least 2 people that have come to me saying, I don't want to make any money, but I have to explain to them that while that's a great goal to have, it's not a feasible goal without you putting money with that, because we all have to have insurance. And with insurance, we all have to make sure that what we have insured, we keep safety issues up to date. So all of this is expensive. So unless you're very wealthy, you can't afford to give these services away. But I always tell that person who's not interested in really making money that charge what the others charge, give the rest of your money to charities as you see fit, or help somebody come to the farm who couldn't pay the price to come to the farm. But when everybody charges, it keeps the equilibrium within an area good so that everybody can make a living out of it. And still, if your heart is to give away, you can still do that. Is there a demand? There is most definitely a demand for agritourism. Many forms, as I've already discussed, of agritourism, but one that we have probably about 5 really big operations in Louisiana who do farm tours for schools. And they stay busy all the time. We've had a very mild winter. They even went back to work in February. A lot of them did. Unusual for us. Usually it's the end of March and April that starts their spring season. Most of our farmers will take off because they're farming in the summertime, but they'll take off the summertime, and most of them will shut down their operations December, January, and February. But this year was unique because it was so mild in Louisiana. Do you have land? Do you have equipment? Sometimes we have people who lease their land, but they can still do an operation on it. Equipment, again, I think the tractor is just essential to anything you're going to do on a farm tour. Do you have startup capital? And how much startup capital are you really going to need? Do you have time? Do you have a labor supply? Do you have the time to do the operation? Do you have a labor supply? I'm going to show you an operation in a few minutes and answer some of those questions. Well, our theme today has been about liability. Are you covered? You don't want to put what you have at risk, so you do need to be insured with liability. What are the safety concerns? You need to be aware of what truly is a hazard on your farm. And is there insurance out there that you can purchase? That's why I had some questions for Tom today. I saw this. Auburn developed what they call a natural playground. There's such an emphasis on getting children outside, outdoors, playing. That's why agritourism is booming, because people are wanting to take children to the outdoors, and agriculture is a great way to get them out. But this, Auburn University helped do this. They took standard playground equipment and enhanced the exterior of, they built the tree house, but they enhanced the exterior of a slide and just made it look like a beaver dam, because they put sticks and kind of thatched it in. And so, doesn't that sound a lot more exciting than going down a slide that I went through a beaver tunnel? So, you know, it's how you utilize what you have, but I thought this was a really great thing. I went to Nebraska City to Arbor Day Farm, and they have a lot of beautiful wildlife opportunities. This was one of my favorite things they had. I called them the birdhouse boxes because they look like birdhouse boxes. But actually at the base, and I think this next one, at the base you're going to see, as you see over on the left, they'd have the imprint of the raccoon and track, and down below it, and then you would open, it says discover who walked here, and you open it and they've got the picture of the raccoon. So if you didn't guess right, then when you open it, you know, you get the answer. But I love this. I have one of these on my nature walk at my house. So let's look at a case study. This is actually where I started in the Extension Service promoting agritourism with this particular farm, and it's called Papa Simpson's Farm. It's located 4 miles outside of Arcadia. It's 4 miles off I-20, and I-20 runs east and west in Louisiana, so a great location. He's an hour out of Shreveport, an urban area, and he's an hour out of Monroe, another urban area. So let's go to Papa Simpson's farm. Well, this is the beautiful little lane that takes you into the farm, and what I love about agritourism, you don't have to own it all. These are his neighbors, and they maintain their property beautifully, so it really sets a great mood. Not even his farm, but we're getting there. This is his property. So for 2 miles, you wind through a little road that's just so pretty, and you arrive here on the farm, and here's his sign, Papa Simpson's Farm. All the buses, all the tour groups come to Mimi's Country Cottage. Originally, Mr. Simpson's grandparents lived here. This was actually their home, and this is where they get everybody in a room, and they talk about the fact that their families own this property since the 1800s. Then he loads everybody up. See the tractor. This is a cotton trailer, and the braces, this is an old trailer. We don't use cotton trailers like this anymore, but they inverted the braces and they put a tarp over the top of it, and this provides shade when it's really hot, and it also, when it's slightly raining, it keeps rain off you. So they load up onto the, and this is Papa Simpson right here, and he stands by the steps, another liability, but he stands by the steps. He assists people who need assisting and who ask for assistance, and he makes sure that everybody gets inside, sits on their bale of hay, and then the steps come up and they close off the unit. And the sides, as I think you can see, they have chicken wire on them, so you're not going to fall out of this trailer. Well, one of the first stops, and my favorite stop, is when you go to the dairy calf pen, and he allows all the children to get to give the dairy calf the bottle. One of the important aspects of doing an agritourism operation, if you have schools, he'll have 150 students, and then he'll probably have 10 teachers with them or parents, but 10, 150, so somebody has to keep order. Somebody has to keep discipline, even though it's a field trip. And he is excellent at getting the teachers involved in what he does. We'll be over here in this building and he'll say, "Where are my teachers?" And they'll put up their hands and he'll say, "I need 5 teachers to go in front of the dairy calves." And then one of his workers will hand them the bottle. And the glass bottle's this big and the nipple's like this high. And so the teacher is instructed to stand there. They get up in 5 lines because they've got 5 dairy calves. And the first student, they line up in those 5 lines, and the first student gets to put the bottle through the fence, and the calf latches onto it. Kindergartners are the most fun to watch, because when the calf latches on, then that child literally goes up and down because that calf is nursing that hard. Then you're told count to 10, and so the teacher and the child who's nursing count to 10, and then you step back and the person next in line grabs a hold of the bottle. So the bottle never comes out of the calf's mouth. You wouldn't let that happen. So that's an experience. What a great thing. They go back. They love it. They go back and tell all these wonderful stories. Well, here he has pinned one of his jerseys, and he milks in the white jug, and he milks and he holds it up, and so they go, "Yeah, well, I like chocolate milk. Bring out that chocolate cow." And this is when he gets to impart a lot of education, because there is no chocolate cow, and he explains that. He has a holding pen, and whatever has been recently born on the farm, he puts them in the holding pens. And this is really the first opportunity Papa Simpson has to greet the visitors on his farm. He welcomes them to the farm, and then he talks about all the animals that he's brought for them to see and actually hold. Because we are concerned with E. coli on the farm, he asked one teacher to pass around. I mean, she walks behind. After every child touches an animal, then someone comes behind with the hand sanitizer, and every child has to sanitize themselves for safety reasons. But these are just a few of the animals that you might expect always to see. Papa Simpson built these structures, and they go back to a creek. So he puts all of his animals in these structures, and during his field tours, he allows, what you do, you'll see in a minute with a picture, that you come onto this farm, you stay with a group. If he's got 150, they divide them into 3 groups. And the groups move from each of these stalls and visit the animals. Here are some horses and you can see the fencing here. And here we go. This is Mrs. Simpson, and she's talking about the horses, and they talk about their names. They talk about the byproducts that we get from animals, and their daughter lets you feed the horses. Here are some goats on the property, and then they have what they call a fowl house, and within the fowl house they have all sorts of poultry. But this is a great view. They just go from one station to the other, visiting all the animals on the farm. On the back of the property, he created a beautiful vista for you to have your lunch. One of the things I always advise agritourism operators, be really good at what you do selling the farm. Anybody can cook lunch. So let people bring their food in, have a picnic. Many times the schools will just pack their lunch and they bring it on the bus. So all the farmer has to do is show them a good time and educate them on the farm, and that works really well. If you've noticed today, a lot of people have different dietary needs, so it would almost be impossible to cater to everybody. He has a small horticulture operation. He allows them to plant corn. Here they are pulling up radishes. I imagine most of these children would never eat a radish if it were put on their plate, but all of them just about try it when they pull it out. And again, sometimes you cannot do everything. So Papa Simpson is a dairy farmer, so he's milking at 4 and at 3 every day. So instead of growing pumpkins, he outsources the pumpkins, but every year he plants the radish patch to have a little greenery, and he puts the pumpkins in. He purchases the small pumpkins because most of the time his visitors are small, And that way they can reach in and harvest the pumpkin and handle it. That's important, that I get to take my pumpkin home. So, that's a trip to a real farm tour. Now, let's look at liability. Arkansas and Louisiana both have limited liability agritourism laws in place. And in